Right, here we go then. Trent 100, 2018, year three. Welcome. This is the safety briefing. Here she is, all 100 kilometers of her. Now, the route's been paddled and mapped extensively. All the marshals and ground crews that will be looking after you have a detailed job spec and a map of the major hazards, and they know where to get to. Paddlers, you will have safety and checkpoint cards, and all postcodes and OS map SK references are in the Marshals pack, so you know where to go. Right, wake up, listen up. This is the most important part. If you have a problem and we need to get to you, you must follow the instructions on your safety card. So first thing you need to remember to do is attach that safety card to the outside of your kit. You don't want to be looking for it if you have a problem. If you need help, you need to phone either 999 if life's in danger, or 0800 06 999 10. That will phone 4 of our safety marshals. So do us a favour right now and save that number into your phone. Put it in there as Trent 100 help. Now your team captains will be wearing a GPS tracker, so we will know where your teams are at all times. It also means that your family and friends can follow you live online if they want to. We've got emergency access points about every 5 kilometers, and there are 18 of them. So once we establish what the situation is, if it's not practical for you to move, we will come to you. If it is practical for you to move a short distance to one of the EAPs down river, we will let you know exactly what to do. Right, so it's Friday, the 3rd of August, the start of the Trent 100, and you're either going to be on a bus or making your way to the start line. Whichever one you choose, you will be able to check in. We've speeded up the process this year, so if you're on the bus, there will be one of our team on there to check you in. Equally, the same thing as last year, there'll be someone at the start line. Please make sure you've been issued with your safety card and lanyard. That's really important. It's your ticket to the weekend, and it also lets us know some important things about you. There'll be your challenger number, your launch group, your bolt-ons, our emergency procedures, and the all-important contact number if you need to get hold of the team. We'll issue you with a wristband. That tells us that you've been given your lanyard, if we can't see that. And the captains, you need to get yourselves to the start line. You can't do this on the bus. Get yourselves to the start line, check in to grab your GPS tracker, turn it on, because your team will not be able to leave unless that has been sorted. We need to do some checks. We're going to look at your mandatory kit, so the buoyancy aid and quick release leash, and check a few other things. So that's it for the check-in. Right, so let's cover the mandatory kit. Per person then. Buoyancy aid, otherwise known as a PFD. This cannot be inflatable. The top section of the course is shallow, narrow and fast. If you've got your board wrapped around a tree or something overhanging into the water, then one of those inflatable PFDs, whilst they're great on open water and big lakes and stuff like that, are not going to cut the mustard. You will get those wrapped around whatever it is you've got the board wrapped around, so you won't be allowed on the water unless you've got a proper buoyancy aid. You also need a quick release river leash. Now, our friends at Desperate Measures do these, and they do them at an incredible price. I think they're about £16 for the quick release. I think it's HF Sub Buddy. Other people do sell them as well, so if you've got a local shop, check those out as well. The lanyard and the safety card, we need to see that you've got that on the board in case anything happens. And obviously, with all the hot weather we've been having at the moment, good food and hydration. Although we will have water and food at every checkpoint, we do not carry single-use plastics, so you do need something to put that water in for a refill. Per team then, you need the route map, and each team will be supplied with 2. You need a first aid kit, 2 throw lines for obvious reasons. If you just have one throw line and someone got into trouble and they were the one with the throw line, there'd be no one there to rescue them. A mobile phone in a waterproof case, and you need 2 of those. And captains, you need that GPS tracker that is supplied by us. Right, so hopefully you're staying with me. Let's get on to the safety parts of the course and why you need that mandatory kit and what you've got to look out for. If you look at the picture on the bottom left hand side of your screen, that was Shugborough Hall and the start line in 2016. If you look at the top of the screen on the left, that's the picture of the start line as it is now. Now it could look like either of those between now and the start, depending on what rain we have. If you look at the guys at the top, in the top picture right in the middle of the screen, you can see how shallow some sections of the river are. It's ankle deep. But even when that picture was taken, if you were to move a couple of meters over to the left, you've got deep enough water even for the longest fins. But the river will go from being deep and slow to shallow and fast, with rocks, weed and shallows. So there's a real risk of catching fins, and if you catch your fin, that means there's also a very real risk of an impact injury, cuts, bruises, sprains and breaks. Now if the weather's warm, there's less risk of hypothermia, but if it's cloudy and windy and you get wet and you have got an injury and you're on the bank, you've got a very much increased risk of hypothermia, but also probably severe frustration and cold feet if you're having to keep walking in the water, lifting your fin up and carrying it along. So just remember, you've got 4 weeks now to get those 5-inch fins, a spare fin for your board. You will absolutely need a river running fin for the first 30 kilometers of the course. Here's the tips then. Follow the course of the river and don't cut corners. It may look like you're going to save yourself some time, but the river is always at its most shallow on the inside of bends. Look out for obvious changes in the surface of the water. So if you're going along and the water looks very similar, then all of a sudden you see a lot of ripples or some changes, it's likely to mean you're coming to a shallow section or something like a tree or whatever is under the water. So make sure you take caution to get around or over that obstacle. If you're drafting, particularly if you're drafting as a team and working together, and we really encourage that, it's a lot of fun working together. You're not racing each other, obviously you're working together so you can draft up and give each other a break and swap around. But if you're seeing what looks to be challenges ahead, back off from drafting. If the first person stacks it into a shallow section, then everybody else is going to go piling into them. So the person in the lead needs to shout and let everyone know if they think there's any problems ahead. There's a real potential with this weather that we've got at the moment for things like heat exhaustion, dehydration and sunburn. So make sure you bring your sun cream if it looks like it's going to be sunny and hot, and stay hydrated. Strainers and objects in the water. We're starting the Trent 100 only 20 kilometers from the source, so there are some very narrow sections with no boat traffic. So nature has taken its course, and there are all sorts of things that have grown into the river. These are fairly obvious though in the river. There are things like fallen and overgrown trees, bridge pilings and old gates, etc. Strainers, however, are a very real danger for canoers, kayaks and stand-up paddleboards. This is where water flows through the obstacle and your equipment, and you will not. Risks are currently low at the moment because we've got very low water levels, but there are some sections where you've got to be careful. Risks with strainers are entrapment, damaging your equipment and drowning. If you're coming up to strainers, you can see where the river's narrowing, you can see trees coming down into the river. It's really important that you navigate in single file with a good distance between the boards. Separate out, please don't draft as you're coming through some of these challenging sections. If you come across newly fallen trees or hazards that you think require marshal support, then please phone them in. Use that 0800 number.
let's talk buoyancy aids and quick release leashes. What on earth we're going on about? It's the stand-up paddleboard challenge. We are not paddling on white water, so why do we need both buoyancy aid and the quick release leash? Buoyancy aids are key if you need to free yourself from your leash. Why would you need to free yourself from your leash? Well, if you do fall in and get caught around any of the debris or any of the bridge pilings or some of the trees that are coming down, if you've got this attached to your ankle or your knee, it can be almost impossible, if not impossible, to get your hands to the leash and release it quickly enough for you to be able to free yourself from the board. If you do free yourself from the board, obviously you've got no flotation, hence the need for the buoyancy aid. So this buoyancy aid has come from one of our partners, PQK, who made this specifically for us. They do custom-made buoyancy aids, which are this version here is their whitewater race buoyancy aid, and it's perfect for supping. Really low profile here, quite light, and it's not a hot buoyancy aid. So if you're paddling in areas where you've got to wear a buoyancy aid, like some of the reservoirs in the UK, then these are a great option. Check them out on our website and go and say hi to the guys at PQK. But let's do leashes. So, our favourite quick release leash at the moment is this one from HF Buddy. The guys at Desperate Measures are the only shop I think in the moment, they're the importers for them. This not only works as a quick release leash for you to self-release, it also has the ability to release all by itself. So let me just put this up. We always wear our quick release leashes over the top of the buoyancy aid. You get used to this. It looks a bit weird to start off with, but actually it just makes perfect sense when you've been doing it for a while. You want to be able to, when you need it, quick release very, very quickly. So by having it here, I always know it's on my chest. I pull, release, and I'm separated from the board. But let me show you this. The beauty of these leashes is that they've got two self-releasing systems. You've got one that will release under very high pressure, so it needs quite a lot of force for it to release, and that really is when you're in the doo-doo and you can't even get to the toggle, or if, as some people do, they wear the quick release leash around the waist. If you can't find the toggle, what this will do is release under high pressure. If you're in a situation where you think there's a really high risk of you getting caught up in strainers and you want the quick release leash to release under a lot less pressure, you can attach it to the yellow toggle and then hardly any force at all. It's enough to keep the leash attached to you, but it will release very, very, very quickly. Do that again, look, 2 fingers and off it's done, goes. It's got a D-ring, which is what you attach your leash to, and it simply slides out. So $16.95 from Desperate Measures. Phone them up if you want one, pay for them, and what Barry has said is he'll stick your name on a label, stick it to the HF Buddy in a box and get them to us on the start line of the Trent 100.
Right, it's time for the last important bits. Now you're going to encounter some river traffic, but not a lot on the River Trent. The first 40k, you'll hardly see anything at all. We've then got a couple of rowing clubs and a kayak and canoe club. Then you'll see very little river traffic again until you get down closer to Nottingham, when you'll start to see some longboats and more water users. It's the same as any other river. We ask that you please pass them on the right hand side. Another thing we'd like you to do, if that's okay, because we really want to come back next year, is give people fishing a really wide berth. So if you're coming down the river and the person at the front spots someone fishing, please quickly move over to the other side of the river. And I know you'll be polite, but please stay polite, even if they look a little grumpy and they're not. It'll only take a couple of complaints to the Canal and River Trust, and we may lose the license and the ability to come back next year. So hopefully you've got our back on that one. Don't trespass. There's a lot of private land, particularly in the first 50 kilometres coming down the River Trent. We've got permission from all of the landowners, but they will be fine. If you have an emergency and you need to stop for an emergency, then just get on with it. Follow the marshal's instructions at all times. That's an obvious one. And yeah, guys, we've put a huge amount of effort into trying to make this a really fun but challenging event from you. So so give it your all. Have a great time, and we look forward to seeing all of you in Nottingham on Saturday for a party at the Riverside Bar and Kitchen. Good luck.
Hey, this is Robbie Nash, and I want to welcome you to the Trent 100. Have a great paddle. It's a long way, so have a good 2 days, and paddle hard and have fun.
Right guys, that's it. Thank you for watching the video. The last thing you've got to do is sign to say that you've watched this video, and also the waiver. I know some of you are sorting out your teams still, so get all that sorted, get yourself ready, and yeah, we really look forward to seeing you this year on the Trent 100. Cheers everyone.